We're back. Yeah, finally. I know. Vision Zero. I've been trying to get this thing done for the last 3 days. Have not been able to do it, but it's finally done. Actually, I wanted to do it like Friday, but then wasn't feeling very well on Friday, and here we are. But anyway, Vision Zero is back. Been waiting on this thing forever. Even was it Indy Pedestrian on Twitter? They've been throwing a fit about it too. Has me blocked, of course, because nobody can take criticism anymore. But anyway, let's just get into it.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey. The second meeting of the Vision Zero Task Force.
Actually,
so I have.
I think the last meeting they had was in October. I think it was October. Let me check.
Just an opening statement I'm going to read just to reframe the discussion and what we're talking about.
Yeah, go for it.
Sorry?
Barth.
We'll do that after this. Yep. After which we'll do intros. So let's just start with the background. As a reminder, in 2024, the Council unanimously adopted the Vision Zero ordinance, setting up our ambitious goal to end traffic-related deaths,
which will never happen,
and serious injuries by 2035.
October 23rd, yeah.
This initiative is not merely a public policy, but a fundamental shift in how we approach transportation and public safety. It emphasizes that traffic fatalities are preventable through thoughtful planning, community engagement, and strategic action.
These people, you know what?
There's no single policy change or
go for it.
In our budget.
You know what, Barth, go for it.
Goal. To accomplish such a significant goal takes time and intentional effort, and we are in the very early stages of an iterative process that will take place over several years and beyond. So we're all here as members of the task force. Thank you all for being here.
All right, who do we got what do we got here? We got IFD. I don't know who that is. We got Dipshit one. We got Cahill. Is that Abby Brands? If you remember, if you guys forgot, during the full council meeting, they were giving her crap about how bad of a job she was doing. But and I think that's the chick from DMD, Kukalich or something, Kuntlik, whatever her name is.
The establishment of the 15-member task force is a critical step towards realizing the Vision Zero objectives. It comprises city leaders, public safety officials, urban planners, community advocates, and our collective mission is to develop and implement a comprehensive action plan that addresses the root causes of traffic incidents. In collaboration with our consulting partners, both...
Hey, let me ask you something. Do you think that people back in, like, when there were no cars and they were just riding horses everywhere, that they didn't have, like, their own Vision Zero just for horses? How do we make sure that people don't get run over by horses?
and health by design. We will be analyzing data, reviewing approaches from other cities, and listening to community members to inform the strategies. It is important to note that the task force efforts do not replace or slow down existing council or administrative efforts. We'll hear about current activities already underway today from BNN, as well as an update from the IMPD on some recent activity with them. Okay, before I continue this, let me go ahead and, since I teed up the task force, let's go ahead and do introductions. So, to my left, Councilor Nielsen.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Andy Nielsen, District 14, representing the City County Council.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Derek Cahill, City County Council, District 23.
Thank you, Chairman. Megan Vukasic, Director for the Department of Development.
I was close.
Thank you, Chair. Abby Brands, Director for the Department of Business and Neighborhood Services.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Todd Wilson, Director of DPW.
Oh, that's the new DPW guy.
A motion to say this is, I think, your second day.
Yes.
So welcome aboard, and thanks for being here on your second day.
Thank you very much.
I think that's the comptroller.
Controller Abby Hansen.
Whatever.
Thank you. My name is Bill Murphy. I'm the Chief Operations Officer for Indianapolis Public Schools.
Good afternoon, everyone. Taylor Firestein, Walk and Bike Program Coordinator with Health by Design, representing the advocacy community.
Good afternoon. My name is Lucas Sneekamp. I'm a deputy prosecutor with the Marion County Prosecutor's Office.
Oh, wonderful.
Good afternoon. Ernest Malone, Chief of Fire, Indianapolis Fire Department.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chris Bailey, Chief of the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department.
And last but not
Oh,
least,
check that out. Bailey has his,
Department.
hold on for one
Thank you,
second.
Mr.
Bailey
Chairman.
has
Chris
his,
Bailey, Chief of the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department.
boom, right there. Look at that. He has his, Black History Month badge. I'm screenshotting that for sure. Oh, that's so good.
and last but not least, Aaron Vogel, Chief Operating Officer for Indigo.
Oh, great.
Thank you all. I do want to note that Addison from the AARP asked to be excused tonight. Let's give him congratulations because he just had a baby, or his wife did. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that boys can't have babies, Barth? Is that what you're telling me right now?
We'll tell him we clap for him. He can watch at home. So some of the things that have been accomplished since the last meeting. As part of the last meeting, we recruited and established this task force and all the members on it, which is no small task in and of itself. So again, thanks to all the members. Working with DPW, consultants were identified, and 2 different contracts were put through the process, which, if you don't know the process of putting contracts together, that takes a minute, and we had to do 2. Then the consultants began their work, including taking a look at other cities and how they have implemented VZ and what the roadblocks have been and what the successes have been. And so that will be reported out today. So thanks to our friends at BNN for that. BNN has subcontracted with local nonprofit Health by Design, which one of our members is a employee of, because they will be heading up the community outreach process. And then we also developed the Vision Zero administrator process and started the process to hire. And I'm going to turn it over in a minute to our DPW leaders to talk about that. But my understanding is that the Vision Zero administrator position we knew was going to be a bit of a unicorn and challenging to identify the right person with the kind of skill set that we need. But my understanding is that we've been remarkably successful so far in attracting a really good pool of potential applicants or potential VZ administrators. So that's really exciting. Then tonight we are also going to, as a element of the presentation, we're going to hear about what the public engagement process is going to be, because we're going to have a robust public engagement process that's going to kick off in the spring. In fact, we're not waiting for the spring. The first step of that is a survey. So I want to thank our friends by Health by Design who have put together a survey to do the first piece of the public engagement process, which is collecting information from folks who are interested and want to weigh in. And if anyone watching or here tonight wants to participate in that, they can go out to the Health by Design social media sites, and you'll see a QR code, and that will kick off the public engagement process that will continue in the spring with in-person meetings, pop-up meetings, among other things that we'll describe here in a little bit. And with that, before we go into the next item on the agenda, I would like to make a few thank yous.
Good God.
That is really important that we communicate is what we're doing here is not easy. It's very complicated. And
It's not hard. All right. Let's just get over this. It's not hard to do. It's like we're trying to just solve this whole thing. Well, you're never going to solve it, and that's maybe why you think that it's not easy. If you really want, here's an idea. If you want to have less of that, make sure you don't give their license back, all right? Here's an idea. If someone gets their license taken away, make it harder to get. In fact, what it should be is that it should be really hard to get in general.
We're not only trying to reorient how we think about these transportation decisions, but we're doing it in a way that is unique to the city and unique to anyone's memory as far as how the council and the city work together. So it's something that's challenging, and part of the process is we really need to figure this out, and that's what we're doing behind the scenes, is how do you lead a joint effort between the administration and the council? That might sound like it's easy to do, but the truth is there's all kind of processes that these are two different branches of government. So there's all kind of processes that happen here and happen there, and we have to manage that. We also have to manage when you bring in consultants. How do you set their expectations and work on their contracts and have clarity about what the deliverables are? When those
no.
So we can hear from our guests. And how that's managed. Again, that's all hard. It hasn't been done before. So behind the scenes, we've been really struggling with that and figuring it out. And so because this is an effort that is going to have a crescendo over a 10-year process.
10 years, holy shit.
We really wanted to take the time to be intentional and thoughtful.
You know what's going to happen in 10 years? Nothing. That's what's going to happen in 10 years, motherfucker.
And careful.
The only thing that'll happen in 10 years is that we will both be older and we will both be balder. That's it. And hopefully you'll be out of the council so we can knock this shit off.
Because if we launched this too quickly and did it aggressively, we would fail. We need to make sure we have pressure tested the process and that we have confidence in what we're doing. So I want to thank several people who have been right there with us trying to figure this out. From DPW, Natalie Van Doggen, are you here? Can you raise your hands?
Shoddy.
So
what is that?
She has done a yeoman's job.
What the hell? Wait. What the hell is that?
Are you here? Can you raise your hands so folks know who you are? So
Where's Shoddy? There's Shoddy right there. Oh, all right. I see who that is. Oh, great. All right. I already know what's going on now.
Has really been
great
in helping us work this through. Nathan Sheets, you want to raise your hand too? Are you here? There he is. Also from DPW, and I've mentioned in previous.
Oh, I know who those people are now. Okay. A big old batch of dipshits, that's all.
Champion, real partner. I know when I and then later when Councilor Nielsen joined the council, first started talking about this, it was really a paradigm change for DPW, just really thinking through how do we do this differently and how do we do this better? And you'll see from the presentation all the changes that we've put in place that have come before this that are happening now. For example, the Complete Streets policy, for example, the task force looking at fatal crashes.
Fuck my life.
These are all meaningful and significant changes that have happened leading up to this point. We've accomplished like a great deal. And now our process is to reorient this big ship called the City of Indianapolis and get it focused on this singular goal. Again, I just want to emphasize that is challenging and hard to accomplish, and the only way we can do it as a unified team. So to the task force members, because some of you know this detail, but not all of you, behind the scenes, we've been really working this out, and that's taken a while. I wish it hadn't taken as quite as long as it did, but just the mechanics don't always move as quickly as we like. So deeply appreciative to both those leaders. I also want to thank Greg Towers. Greg, right there, would you raise your hand? Greg is the leader of the council office, and you may notice that he is sitting here himself, not a staff person. This A shows you how important this initiative is to the council and to the council staff, the fact that Greg himself is managing this with us. But also just demonstrates the commitment, I think, from the council level that he's engaged to the level he is, and he's really been a key person in helping us get this sorted out and ready to start. I also want to thank Sarah Hindy. She helps with communications she leads communications in the council office and does a tremendous job, and she, working with the folks at DPW and other departments, is really helping us think about how do we communicate this? How do we effectively make sure people understand what we're doing here, because there's a lot of misconceptions about Vision Zero.
You're just yapping. You're just yapping.
Now I want a new sidewalk.
All right, I can't do it. I can't do it. All right, where are we at?
You're right. I submitted an editorial talking about the need to allow municipalities to be able to put up speed and other type of technology to help reduce some of the issues we see in school zones.
You know what that will happen? Nothing. No. Yo, you're going to get more T-bone. You're going to get more rear-end accidents. They already did a study of this in Chicago, and basically what it does is you're going to give more tickets to Black and Hispanics, and this is just another money grab from Chief Bailey. You could just do your job. There's an idea.
In other areas in part of our city, I believe there's legislation pending in the General Assembly. I've not heard an update on
There's
that.
not. I don't think there
monitoring
is.
that from our side, but that's not any reason for us not to do and control what we can control here at the IMPD. And so I've asked our staff to add 8 additional officers to our traffic enforcement section.
Yeah, nothing's
We're
happening.
able to manage to find 3 of those right now, with the goal of adding 5 more in 2025, bringing us to 27 officers in that section, which will obviously help with enforcement in areas that we identify through data as needing additional attention. Also, we were able to receive a approximately $20,000 donation from community members to add moving radar to our motorcycle units. That will outfit 8 of those units with moving radar. Why is that important? On warmer days, especially in the summer, our traffic enforcement section utilizes motorcycles to patrol our streets and our neighborhoods, and they'd have to be in a stationary position to detect someone's speed, unlike in the cars where they have moving radar. It was a great community donation from an organization who sees some of the madness that occurs on Washington Street and wanted to make that donation to our motorcycle unit, so we appreciate that. So that is also moving forward. And then we're adding some new drug recognition experts to our staff, adding additional training for that during traffic stops or traffic crashes, to utilize those tools that the officers receive in that training to recognize when someone may be under the intoxicant of something other than alcohol. So that's an important piece of what we're doing on IMPD, and those things right now are ongoing on the IMPD, and that's the IMPD update. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chief. And I won't tell the lengthy story of lockdown and the increase in dangerous driving I observed, but I do want to just thank you publicly for all the partnership you've shown to me and to all the counselors on this. I know it's been a big issue for everyone, and the IMPD has really worked hard to be responsive and to work and to address on enforcement, so thank you. Now, the next thing is we're going to go to our new DPW director, Director Wilson, to give us an update on
He's probably like, I don't have shit.
Vision Zero administrator position, which I mentioned
Oh,
earlier.
yeah.
He has more details.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not sure I have a lot of value to add to this discussion today, but I do have Natalie Van Dogen, and she can give us an update on the administrator position.
If I were you, I would also defer to her.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for giving me an
Shoddy.
opportunity to highlight the fact
Shoddy.
that the Vision Zero administrator position is currently posted on the government jobs website for Indianapolis, Marion County. So if anyone is interested, please send them that way. The position will be posted
What is
February,
here?
but we are currently reviewing
Unknown.
applicants.
Okay, so he don't even have names on there. It's just unidentified, unknown age, killed while walking, killed while walking. All right.
I'm very excited to say that we have gotten very, very many applicants, a lot of interest for this position. So really excited to begin that process of reviewing and talking with those applicants. Just so this body is aware, we did work with Burgess and Nyepel as well to review peer cities and what they were kind of looking for in their job descriptions and in the format of that position, and eventually landed on one that I feel works best for this body. There's obviously a lot of you up here, and you represent large swaths of our community, so making sure that this is a person that will be able to really communicate effectively, work organizationally to make sure that everyone is in the loop and understands the goals that we are working toward is the key goal with the position. So very excited, updates to come, but things are looking great.
Thank you, Natalie. And I'm personally really looking forward to this person joining the team, because really, to keep the ball moving and to meet the ambitious goals that we're setting, we need to have someone who wakes up every day just thinking about this. And so, again, continuing with my thank yous, thanking to DPW, where I think this will be housed, although, for understanding and supporting the concept when we were working through the ordinance, but also, again, going back to my point earlier, that doing this work and bringing together all these different elements.
Dude, do you ever shut the fuck up and just get to the point?
Is not a simple thing. And so having a person who is going to be empowered and be at the appropriate level to make all that stuff happen.
You just like never get the. You know what? I'm betting this guy never gets to talk, and he's like, "Oh, finally, someone to listen to me." Because my wife never listens to me. My children never listen to me. I finally have a voice. I finally feel important.
I've spent my entire career in public policy at great big organizations and really small organizations, and something that I've learned, especially in a big bureaucracy,
Pitter patter.
if you don't have someone who wakes up every day focused on that issue, then it's easy to let things fall to the side. So I appreciate this person coming, and I'm really looking forward to them coming, and they will add a lot to it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to a presentation from Burgess and Nightbull. Maria, I know you're going to kick things off, I believe, and do the presentation. So if you wouldn't mind, so I'm going to jump in a couple times just to reinforce some of the points you're making, so prepare yourself for that. And then also, if you wouldn't mind introducing some of your, I think you have two colleagues here, or is it just you today?
Feel free to jump in anytime, no problem, and I will introduce my colleagues. So I am Maria Cantrell. I'm one of the engineers with Burgess and Nightbull, and if anyone doesn't know, I was the Vision Zero coordinator for the city of Columbus, so I have that background, and I wanted to help other cities with safety action plans, and I'm super passionate about this effort, so I'm excited to help you all, and I have with me here with Burgess and Nightbull, Jason Taylor and Jeremy Van Vliet. So they're my backup. And yeah, feel free to chime in and we'll get going on the presentation.
Thank you.
So I wanted to share with you what I have found, or what we have found for the existing efforts that Indianapolis has related to Vision Zero, talk a little bit about our peer city review, some department and agency interviews that we completed, and some next steps as it relates to the Vision Zero action plan. So that's what this presentation will encompass. So when I say existing Vision Zero efforts, and to give a little bit of context of what we mean by that, things that you're already doing related to providing space for all road users, efforts to achieve safe speeds, and prioritizing fatal and incapacitating crash locations for where we do work in the city, whether it's enforcement or fatal crash reviews or even projects. These align with the safe system principles, Vision Zero principles, and I want to get a little bit more into that, but we have the fatal crash review team, so we know we focus on that. We have a complete streets process, and I'll have some examples of projects that have already occurred. We already heard Chief Bailey talk about data-based enforcement, but there's also, I learned about the ordinance for impounding street racing vehicles. And
Good.
I thought that was
Good.
really exciting to learn about that and the effect that that's had on helping, have safer speeds for everybody as well. But in addition to that, we're pursuing funding for safer projects, and so we received a grant from FHWA with Indigo to have safe routes to transit. So that's providing sidewalks and access to bus routes to have better infrastructure for that. But we also know that DPW always pursues funding sources from state and other funding resources. Did you have something you wanted to add to that? Okay. So with the fatal crash review team, this is an existing process that we have, that we review all fatal crashes here in Indianapolis.
I've done videos on this before. Look, yeah, and most of it is caused by dipshit drivers. Not because the whole point of this thing was what can we change infrastructure wise where we wouldn't have these problems. And it turns out it's actually the majority is because of dipshit drivers. Maybe take their fucking license away.
For potential infrastructure improvements, but this past July that expanded to looking at incapacitating crashes as well. And so
Because they weren't getting the data that they wanted. They're like, oh, clearly it'll be an infrastructure problem where we can fix it. We'll have all this data. Turns out they didn't, and so they have to expand it out more.
with that, there's a look
Rihanna,
at...
my apologies. One thing I could note, I noticed in your assessment of other cities that some of these components that we have already in place are things that are elements that other cities added later after they started a VZ approach. In other words, I'm not saying we're ahead of the game because we have a long way to go, but we have taken steps that other cities take longer. So we're kind of blending in some work we've already done. Is that accurate or no?
Right. There's some Vision Zero cities don't do this at all. Some added it later. So it's efforts that you were already doing some parts of Vision Zero without even having created
Without
this
the title
task
and
force.
without sewing it together under that banner. Okay, thank you. Just making sure.
Yeah, exactly. So this fatal crash review team was already reviewing all your fatal crashes for those potential infrastructure improvement opportunities, and then that expanded to reviewing, taking a look at every 2 months where most of those incapacitating crashes were occurring and looking at a road safety audit. So a team will go to that site every 2 months and do a full assessment and look at infrastructure improvements. They're taking all the crash data from the last 3 years to look at crash data trends. So that even expanded back this summer. Additionally, the complete streets process itself is a Vision Zero component. And with this process, so it's project scoping, when the Department of Public Works looks to do a project, they look to include all road users. There's a verification for high crash locations. They check for speed management opportunities. What are some elements that can be incorporated into that project to help encourage safe speeds, as well as consideration for proven safety countermeasures. A proven safety countermeasures is a whole list of things. There's a little graphic to the side here, shows a Vision Zero matrix that I pulled from the MPO, but that process references that checklist and says, are there any of these elements that can be incorporated into the project? Things like a leading pedestrian interval or better lighting on that project. So this is something that's already occurring on projects that DPW is doing. And I have several projects that you've completed to show you here. So on Michigan Street, you see this is a 6-lane road, many lanes. There was a crossing here that's difficult to see. It had some beacons and some signs. There's, it might be hard to see, but there's some scooters off to the side.
Okay, so 6 lanes, by the way. Well, it's more like 4 lanes. Well, more like 5 lanes. Because this one's like a median.
And there's a bus stop. And the improvements that occurred with this.
Look, now they bottlenecked you. Now it's guaranteed for there to be a traffic jam. What if someone stalls out? There's no way to get around them. What if there's an accident? There's no way to get around them. This is look the weeds. Look at the weeds already. They haven't even maintained the growth.
That it was a bikeway was added, separating from vehicular traffic. The bus stop is improved with bus pull-offs, so the vehicular traffic can still move, but the crosswalk distance is shortened. The crosswalk overall is more visible. It's just safer for all road users. It manages the speeds here so it doesn't feel like a runway. And this is, to me, this is a Dream Vision Zero project. And you're already doing it.
Yeah, let's just wipe it out where people are going to be harder to drive. And this is what the people of Indianapolis voted for, is this kind of incompetence, really. Because what do we see in Hamilton County that we don't have in Marion County? We have wider roads, right? We used to have wider roads, and we would just enforce the traffic. And now what we're doing is like, well, there's too many dipshit drivers, so now we got to make sure there's restricted traffic instead of just enforcing the laws. But that's not what Indianapolis wants.
On these projects.
They also don't know how to mow the lawn.
Example, on Morris Street, Again, there were 2 lanes in each direction.
Yeah, it was awesome.
There is a crosswalk here, but potentially the
Yeah.
traffic volumes didn't. I don't have all the details, but I'm assuming that there was the opportunity to do a road diet here, and that occurred. So there's 1 lane in each direction on this project. There's a separated shared use path on the side accommodating all road users. The crosswalk distance, again, is shortened with the beacon in place. So again, a project that manages speeds, accommodates all road users, an improvement for everybody. This is an intersection improvement project that might still not be fully completed at Post Road and Raymond Street, a high crash location that received highway safety improvement funding from the state. So again, Public Works was proactive in pursuing funding beyond just city funds. A high crash location from the data that you had available to you. There's a school nearby to this intersection as well. The improvement added a roundabout. There's also sidewalks within the project limits going on at this location.
Okay, so you expanded it and you put in a roundabout. See, that I can get, I'm good with. What you guys did to Morris and Michigan is an absolute abomination.
So it reduces high severe crash locations by adding this. Roundabouts are considered a proven safety countermeasure to reduce the severity of crashes. So this is, again, another Vision Zero type project that was incorporated here in Indianapolis. Again, this project was initiated prior to your Vision Zero ordinance. Your College Avenue conversion project, this was a 1-way street with many lanes. It was converted to 2-way with adding a separated bicycle facility. And
people
again,
wonder
you have 1 lane in
why,
each
these
direction,
Democrats wonder why so many people are leaving Marion County.
which helps mitigate speeds. It narrows the overall width of the corridor, so when a pedestrian needs to cross, it's a shorter crossing distance. Again, slows vehicular speeds to make it safe speeds for all road users. And there are also elements with Vision Zero that talk about, how do we, when you have limited funds, there are opportunities to do quicker, low-cost improvements, things like plastic flexible posts to address an existing crash problem location. In this example, if it's difficult to see around sight distance obstructions when you're coming to an intersection, a house or a building or something that can't be moved out of the way for you to see around a corner, these types of improvements can limit turn movements or crossing movements for vehicular flow and really help mitigate a crash problem.
And that's a good place to take a quick pause and see if any of the task force members have any questions. I think the chief's comments and your sort of overview there is a good way of demonstrating the right nowness of what we're doing. A lot of the work that my fellow counselors and I did prior to VZ passing were a series of initiatives that you've reviewed that are adding up. We didn't even know we were putting together, stitching together a Vision Zero sort of initiative by doing all those individual initiatives. And now, from those projects, the city, we did our part by passing ordinances for them, and now the administration is doing their part by implementing this. So I know there's a lot of concern out there about what's the right nowness or what can we do right now, because the Vision Zero process and going through this, the community engagement that's yet to come, the development of the action plan, all that takes time. And then connecting the budget to the action plan and getting those improvements made over time, that's a process, and it just takes a minute. And so these are great examples of what's happening right now. These are steps that are actually being taken. So I think that summary is really useful. I will just point out my own personal experience with working with parent leaders at IPS School 70 who have had, which is at 46 in Central, which have had significant challenges with people blowing off stop signs, turning right on red, Over a period of time, we've worked together to make it no turn on red. And I'm not exaggerating. Literally, the weekend after the sign went up, someone turned right on red and got into an accident. They're okay. And then now I've been working with them to put together, and thanks to the previous DPW director working in partnership with me and the parent leaders, funding for crossing enhancements. So my point is, Maria, I think you're pointing out some great examples of initiatives there being done, but also I know each and every counselor is working on these smaller, seemingly smaller, but very important initiatives concurrently that are happening in alignment with all this other work. So let me take a pause, and my fellow task force members have had the pleasure of hearing me talk ad nauseum for minutes and minutes at a time.
Yeah,
so
it's
if
fucking
anyone has
annoying.
questions you'd like to direct to Maria based on what's been presented so far, please go ahead. Okay, super. Continue.
Thank you.
Super duper.
So we also wanted to see the work you're doing, not just on infrastructure projects, but throughout the city, and how it compared to what some of our peer cities are doing. So we talked to several cities that are similar in population and the amount of streets that are managed. So we talked to Columbus, Ohio, Denver, Colorado, Louisville, Kentucky, and Charlotte, North Carolina. And this is a quick matrix. I apologize if it's a little bit small and difficult to see, so I'll go over it briefly. But Denver started Vision Zero in around 2020, Columbus around the same time, Charlotte slightly earlier in 2019, Louisville a little bit more recently in 2022, and we know Indianapolis just last year.
This is really funny. The hurdles, enforcement. Prior in Columbus, parking versus bike lanes, enforcement. They can't enforce it? What are you talking about?
Population-wise, fairly similar in size, Louisville slightly smaller. What is most notable to me in talking to everyone is the fact that Indianapolis maintains a significantly larger amount of roads. Trying to compare lane miles and centerline miles, and for everyone who doesn't understand, centerline miles is what we mean by, like, if you just took a line down the middle of the road, it's the straight line number of miles, and not everybody measures the same of what they maintain, and lane miles would be the number of lanes per that centerline mile. But the gist of what we found out was Indianapolis has to manage and maintain significantly more than their peer cities. So that was the main gist of that.
And can we even just go ahead and let's just put a number on it. Louisville being, Columbus being second to us with 5,700 and ours being 8,400, right?
Right.
So not only a little bit more, but dramatically more than the one that's even closest to us. And I think that's just a real important point, that the size and the scale.
Okay, now what about, okay, so what?
Might be similar to other cities. Our number of lane miles is incredibly challenging, and
it's not really.
I know this is a
not.
It's made ad nauseum, and it doesn't in any way mean we don't do our best to overcome it, but we are inequitably treated by the formula that.
Here we go. Fucking cry more, you crybaby.
We are, in fact, a donor county. There are counties around Indiana
A donor county.
Marion County taxpayer dollars for their streets. That's one of the many challenges we have.
Dude, you can't even plow the residential streets. Everybody's taxes went up, though. So what exactly are you doing with the money?
I don't like to let barriers stop us from doing things.
Really? Because it sounds like that's your excuse.
Or taking big swings, because we're doing that, obviously. But we also have to live in the world where we have resource constraints. And so just the limited funding combined with the huge amount of lane miles is a challenge for us as we work this through.
Sounds like you're crying like a little bitch.
Right. So, and when we say have to manage and maintain, that means from pavement, that means plowing streets and pavement management and bridges and all of that, just for some context of what it means to manage and maintain. None of these cities said that Vision Zero was going perfectly and that they didn't have challenges. They did have wins, though. Denver was able to do the camera speed enforcement. They were able to reduce local roads to 20 miles an hour. They had a strong grassroots effort, and they did see a reduction in fatalities from 2023 to 2024 by about 21%. And they did have a Denver Moves Everyone plan. So those were a few of their highlights. Columbus was able to secure all their downtown roads to 25 miles an hour. They found that their corridor projects were more effective versus spot improvements for helping achieve safe speeds. And they did have a strong outreach and education campaign. They spent $1 million for their first outreach and education campaign, and they've actually spent another
that's so funny.
$750,000.
We need education. We need to tell people to slow down and not hit people.
Recently on that as well. Charlotte, they've done a lot with thoroughfare lighting. They have done quite amount of pedestrian crossing upgrades and a lot with neighborhood traffic calming. Louisville is working on a speed management plan. They have connected their data with hospital trauma data with their crashes, and they're doing a really good job with public outreach effort. So for Indianapolis, I've already pointed out there is a really great complete streets process in play. You have your fatal crash review team in process already going on, and we've seen some success with your past projects implemented, as I showed in the pictures. But hurdles, everybody has them. It does take time. Enforcement is a challenge for Denver. Coordinating improvements on state routes where the states control what you can and cannot do on those streets was a challenge in Denver. In Columbus, still challenges there, prioritizing people over speeds and level of service. A lot of challenges at times with projects like competing with parking versus bike lanes, and enforcement constraints there too. In Charlotte, again, enforcement could still be a challenge there. Again, state DOT did not let them make changes on a lot of their state routes, and they were not allowed to lower speeds there. Louisville, enforcement was a problem for them as well. They didn't actually have a Vision Zero policy, but they had a Vision Zero coordinator and a little bit, some program going on there. So they weren't necessarily always integrating Vision Zero in all of their projects. So again, it's not perfect in all these cities, but they're doing what they can with what they have.
Go ahead, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I hope we'll continue to see this over time, and if there are updates. One thing, if you're able to collect that I think would be valuable on here, is if you would be able to also add some columns for the equivalent of our DPW budget, and then separately what the total city budget is. And I know that that's really difficult when you're benchmarking across states, that like Columbus has an operational and a capital budget where we just have a unified budget. But if it would be possible to see that, I think it'd be pretty eye-opening.
It's apples and oranges, so we'll do our best. There's some cities that are funded in different ways, but we'll see what we
just
can
want the
to update that
budget.
for you.
That's
That'd be
all.
great. Thank you.
Other questions? Go ahead.
Would it be possible to, for next time, under the wins, it would be helpful for me at least to understand any kind of quantifiable changes. So
Yeah.
in the period since 2019, has Charlotte seen a reduction in fatalities? And if so, by how much? That kind of information would be useful.
I can tell you right now, Denver has not. It's actually gone up.
Certainly wins, but a lot of them are inputs. And I'd just be curious what the resulting impact was on actual safety and pedestrian and traffic safety.
And we are working on your data.
Wins, but a lot of how much?
Hold on, where is
That's
it?
Charlotte C.
Charlotte, Denver. Fatalities are down 21% from 1 year, but they don't talk about the from 2020 to 2024. Hey, actually, we peaked in 2023, so we're actually doing pretty good now. Yeah, let's see. In Charlotte, okay. We got some lighting, we got some crossing upgrades, we got some neighborhood traffic calming.
In a reduction in fatalities.
Wow.
And if
All right. Well, let's see. I
So
know
by
I have the
that kind of
Denver
information
stuff
would be useful
somewhere. Let me
because
see if I could
these
find
are
it.
certainly wins, but a lot of them are inputs. And I'd just be curious
I'm sure
what
I
the
have it
resulting
somewhere around.
impact was on actual safety and pedestrian and traffic safety.
And we are working on your data to see what your data trends are as well. I believe there is some reduction from last year to this year. 23 to 24, but don't quote me on that, but I believe so. But yeah.
Anyone else?
There is a reduction in yellow bus accidents, and it is
Ooh.
significant if you'd like that data later on.
Ooh, look at that. Hey, that sounds like a cope to me, pal. Oh, hey, at least we got something, huh? Hey, at least we got the yellow bus.
Okay, proceed. I am going to jump in here on your next sessions. So you're going to begin talking about some of what our next steps are, and I'm going to leave it to you to go through it. But I think there's a lot of collection of information from key informant.
Actually, 2021.
There's gonna be
Why
a
is there
lot
no
of
data for 2023 for
public
Denver?
engagement processes that are all being finalized now. I do just want to re-emphasize and thank our friends for Health by Design. I'm pointing to them there. In doing this work, we really thought it would be important to get outside of the walls of the CCB and have a nonprofit partner who's really connected to the pedestrian and cycling community, sort of lead that effort so that we are doing it in the way that is as connected as possible that we can to the community. So thanks to Health by Design, they've been thinking it through very carefully. I will tell you, Mark, do you want to hold your hand, put your hand up? If you don't know Mark is the new leader of Health by Design. He's an A+ leader who's done a lot in Indianapolis for a long time, and he and I are actually in a running group together where we meet intentionally at 38th Street and go north and south across 38th Street as a way of demonstrating and trying to pull people together from across sort of that dividing line between our community. But I can tell you, when we start off running often on 38th Street, it's not easy. It's not a safe zone. We really need to make sure we're watching out for each other and being careful. So we're really living this in our running group. So let me turn it back over to you.
Fucking can't stand these people.
So one of our efforts was to get a better understanding of what all of your departments and our partner agencies already have in play, and the work you do that we can already be utilizing towards Vision Zero, what we can build on, and how we can work together collectively rather than in our silos towards Vision Zero. So we talked certainly with the Department of Public Works and certainly with Chief Bailey and IMPD and with Lucas Niekamp, I'm sorry. And certainly our friends with Health by Design and Indy and our health partners and Metro Development and Business and Neighborhood Services. And so we had a lot of really great conversations to learn about what all your agencies and groups do to really get a sense of opportunities and challenges as we move forward with a Vision Zero plan. So as we develop this plan, we learned quite a bit about opportunities and concerns for these groups and departments. Really, we see that there's lots of opportunities to use your existing efforts for engagement to promote and educate the public. There's a lot of what you're doing that people don't even realize you're doing. There's no awareness of it. And I think that is just an initial step to help the public understand that, as I even mentioned earlier, there are things you are doing that are related to Vision Zero. But there's also an ability to take work you're doing and refine it with the existing data. It's a tweak, and it could really make the difference of doing work here versus doing work over there. Maybe even revising existing policies. You have stuff that's in play, and we haven't looked at it in years. And I've heard that from multiple departments and policies, and these are potential opportunities, if desired, to take a look at and revise it with the Vision Zero action plan. This isn't a plan that's going to happen overnight, right? This is a plan that we're going to look at, have potential.
This is just another money scheme.
And action items with them to say, maybe we want to look at improving this policy. There are opportunities here to improve it, to align it with the Vision Zero principles. Maybe there's a new process that we didn't think about that we want to have in the future. But we also heard that there's a desire for more transparency and a more defined engagement process. Communication that progress is occurring. Again, I think it's part of, when we talked about that peer city review, we did find that Louisville was doing a really good job with engaging with the community. Hearing, this is what we are doing from the agency side, and the public wanted to hear about it. But it also was an opportunity for the agencies to promote what they were doing. I think, too, with the hiring of a Vision Zero coordinator, that will be a strong way to do that. The concerns, though, from multiple interviews with all of your departments was resources, right? I mean, in order to make these changes, how are they going to happen? What resources will be available? And then expressing, what does success look like? I think what we're hearing, like, Vision Zero does not happen overnight. So what does success look like for Vision Zero in that first year? What do we hope to accomplish with this Vision Zero action plan? What is the expectation? With the Vision Zero action plan, what do we expect to accomplish in 5 years? When I mentioned with the peer city review, none of the peer cities were perfect on day one. When we did Vision Zero in the city of Columbus, it took us 2 years to develop an action plan, and they're still working on making it better every day. But I think strong communication and engagement with the community, showing that you're putting your best foot forward, that you're trying, is a big part of that. It's a journey. It's not an overnight step. So we did talk about next steps. We did talk a little bit already about that we have a Vision Zero position posted, and gosh, we really want to get that hired as soon as possible, because we really do want them to be able to work on this every single day, be the champion for the members of the public and the departments to make this really happen, to focus on prioritizing safety for all road users. What we're doing here with the Vision Zero action plan with Burgess and Nipel is we're updating your crash data. We're working on developing a high injury network. So what that means is we're taking your existing crash data. We want to know where all the fatal and serious injury crashes are happening and prioritizing those corridors so we can use that to focus our efforts and projects. We're also looking at what is a systemic analysis. That's a proactive risk analysis. So that means maybe the crashes haven't already happened there, but certain risk factors like certain speed limits or roads that have a certain number of lanes on them or certain street characteristics make it highly likely that a fatal or serious injury crash will happen on that type of road. And we need to be aware of that and think about maybe that's where we need to be thinking about putting crosswalks or thinking about additional speed management opportunities. So that's what a systemic analysis will do. And we also really want to think about equity analysis. Do we need to have thoughts about on our high injury network and in certain neighborhoods where, for instance, there are equity factors such as a higher percentage of households that don't have a vehicle. They may have different challenges about how and when and where they travel that put them at higher risk for being in a fatal and serious injury crash. So those are some of those equity factors that we could potentially look at, or other health index factors that we want to
Oh
take
my
into
God,
account
you guys are
when we
just
prioritize the work
throwing
that we
shit at
do
the wall right
for our
now.
Vision Zero plan. And certainly, we're working on public engagement with Health by Design. They are at the experts for you for leading this.
How much are they getting paid?
So starting as soon as possible, we have several opportunities for incorporating public engagement. We also have all of you to help us promote that engagement, right? You guys all have resources to help let everybody know that this opportunity is available. Starting as soon as possible, there's going to be a markup, the map available online to tell us, hey, this is where I have problems traveling via crossing the street, or this is a really high stress location for me when I'm riding my bike, or I almost get T-boned driving my car here. For these reasons, people are always running this light. This is some information that we can put quantitatively on a map. We also talked about the survey that will be posted, and we also want to have in-person pop-up events, like multiple where there are existing events already happening, things like First Fridays or library opportunities where we will be at locations that will be easy for members of the public to get to. So they don't have to come here on Tuesday night at 4 o'clock to come give us their input, but we will be at many events around town in the spring, led by Health by Design and support, hopefully.
I
by
can't
the
wait
city
to
staff
go
as
and
well
check
as
them
Jen and
out.
staff
I will tell you that right
to,
now.
There's a picture on the bottom right of what that can be. It's just, would you tell us, what mode you most use to travel, and you can plop a chip in a cup or a little Lego, and it's easy and creative to show how you would do that. Just interactive and easy to understand as you're checking out your library book, or that's just an example of what it could be like. But friendly, easy to do, get that public engagement happening. So we really plan to utilize that public engagement to share feedback with this group to help inform the strategies and priorities from the members of the public as we develop that action plan.
Thank you. Any questions? Please go ahead, Amy.
Are you finished with the stakeholder interviews that you planned? And I ask because you and I communicated at one point about meeting, and then we didn't meet. I just want to be sure that while the agencies brought up resource constraints, that I was also able to give some feedback about resource constraints.
I would love to talk to you whenever you're available. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
This will be continued dialogue. We want your input and engagement in this plan for sure. There wasn't a cutoff. We will never talk to you again by any means.
We strongly encourage you to talk to the controller about resource constraints.
Absolutely.
Anyone else? Okay, a couple of things. One is that I appreciate the turnout today, and I'm getting a lot of feedback from people watching online, so I know there are a lot of people watching, so I appreciate that. One thing, a couple of things I want to think about that people can do while we're continuing to work on this. Just so task force members know, there is a process we're working on where we're going to invite you in to have some of these discussions about some of the data and some of the funding issues and sort of everything we're facing in making this happen. So that you'll be hearing from us on that. The two most important things that need to happen is that getting participation in the design of the action plan. So Maria laid that out a little bit. There's more coming on that, but giving that feedback to HPD and making sure that it flows into the action plan, but then in having an action plan we believe in and we think can take us to where we want to go by the date of 2035, thank you, that it can't happen unless we tie budget activity to it. So really having a plan, Again, as I've mentioned many times in various committee meetings, my entire career has been in and around government, and I've participated in and seen many plans that have been developed that were shiny and beautiful and then never saw the light of day or never were implemented. That's really, I think, where the advocacy community can lend your power is don't let this be a thing on a shelf. We need to make sure, the reason why Councilor Nielsen and I and Councilor Cahill were very intentional about the date of the first draft of the action plan was because that is while the budget is being formed. So the action plan will be done, its first iteration in July, and that's so we can get some kind of agreement on what elements do we need to make sure are in the budget for 2026. And so as you interact with your city county councilors, let them know that you're tracking this and you want to make sure that they support the priorities of the Vision Zero action plan into the 2026 budget. So that process, and I've talked about this before, but I'll just restate it, has been very intentional of how we passed it, the process we're going through now to try to build this, getting the work product done, and having the work product done in the time frame that it should be done so we can translate that into action, which is dollars. So making sure your member of the council understands that is really important because this is a intentional process built to do that. And then why we built the ordinance with having the updates twice a year after the first action plan is done is for that reason. And that's to make sure that we get the budget allocation on an annual basis. So really trying to build this in a way that is everybody pulling from the same end of the rope because, again, I know it's hard to hear and it's hard to live the world that the three councilors here do, that we would like to do so much, but we have to live in the world of dollars that we have. So the action plan is really a plan where everybody is on the same page. We're all pulling from the same end of the rope. Then we're pulling from the same end of the rope to make sure X priority is addressed in the 26 budget. Y priority is addressed in the 27 budget. And in that way, we're taking real, intentional, and purposeful steps to accomplish this goal we're all trying to achieve. It's hard, but we're going to do it by working together and everybody pulling from the same end of the rope. So with that, I'm going to wrap up the second meeting of the Vision Zero Task Force.
Just
Thank
yapping.
all the members for being here. I will tell you, we have this at 4 o'clock because we recognize we have members on the committee who are staff at the city and staff at nonprofits, and not everybody is elected to attend meetings late into the night. So we're trying to find a good balance of availability and acknowledging folks' family commitments. So we'll keep using this time going forward. And we got a lot of work to do. We've laid it out, and now it's time to continue to execute on that. So thanks very much to everyone.
Jeez, all he does is yap. Yap, yap, yap. That meeting could have been like a half an hour or 45 minutes if he just didn't go on these long fucking monologues. Holy shit. But anyway, Vision Zero is a giant scam. He has this idea that you're going to be able to eliminate all traffic fatalities forever and ever, which will never be the case. That's like getting rid of the homeless problem. Like, we're going to make sure, I think Hogsett even said, like, in 5 years, we're going to make sure that there are no more homeless people. 5 years later, guess what? It's actually worse than ever, because I think that was in 2019, and then his 5-year marker was in 2024. Never did anything. Shocker, right? But anyway, if you're watching this right now, this will be put out on Tuesday morning. Will it? I don't know. Maybe I'll just do it now. Fuck it. Tuesday, though. Tuesday the 18th, right? Yeah. Yeah, Tuesday the 18th will be Witty Reviews on the Chateau de Mars Hill Network. It's on my live on YouTube as well, or you can just go onto the Mouthwash talk show on Facebook. It's actually just easier just doing it through my YouTube. But make sure 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern, I will be roasting more Republicans and exposing how corrupt some of the shit that is going on in the Marion County GOP race right now. GOP chair race right now. But until next time.